Today we're looking at Fusion 360. I'm going to show you how to do a design from beginning to end. So these are some videos of sessions that we've already held, so we're recording them. We did a Fusion 360 session last week. So what we did in session 3 is we looked at how to get the Fusion software, and then what we did, we had a look at this model. I made the video of the session. This is a turret cover on a Paramount Marauder vehicle. So this is Fusion, and I'm just going to do a right click with a right click on the mouse, and I'm going to unisolate that, and now you'll be able to see what that is. Now I put that onto the 3D printer earlier. We're just going to go have a look at what's happening on the 3D printer. So if we click on that part and we click here and we go isolate, we can actually isolate that part. We can zoom in on that part. We could drag that part around. This is a circuit that is used to upload firmware to raw Arduino chips. So if you buy a vanilla Arduino chip for 35 rands, you can put your own firmware onto this Atmel 328P-PU, then becomes an Arduino chip. Now, an Arduino chip, you will normally pay about 140 Rand just for this chip with the Arduino software on it. So if you're going to do a lot of robots or a lot of processors, if you've got some commercial application, it makes sense to make a bootloader loader. So the way this thing works, you put the chip over here. So you put the chip in there, you lock it in there, you connect this up to your computer, and then this Arduino will compile and load the firmware onto the chip that's over here. What I thought would be a nice thing to do today would be to design a holder for a breadboard. So what we want is we want to have a breadboard over here, and we want an Arduino, and we want them next to each other on the table. The purpose of that is then we can build test circuits. So this is quite a useful thing on your electronics workbench. I've just got an ordinary school ruler. What we're effectively doing here is we need to make a recess of, say, 85 by 65. This is a digital caliper that can give you a very accurate measurement. This has got sticky stuff on the back here, so you can stick this down to the item that you make. So let's go into Fusion and have a look at how to create that basic shape. New design, and what you'll see is it gives us a new blank screen here. We can also go up a level there. This is a all project summary level. And so what we want to do is let's click on sketch, because every Fusion project starts with a sketch. So let's start with a sketch. And now you need to select a plane. Because we're going to 3D print this model, we want the Z to be in the up position. So you might want to go in here to preferences and select Z in the up position, because by default it's not Z up. So default modeling orientation, if you're going to be doing work for a 3D printer, select Z up. So Fusion normally comes Y up, just change it to Z up and go OK. Now you'll see this orientation of this little cube over there is like that. And so what we're going to do now is we had already clicked on new sketch plus sketch over there, and we select on that plane. So now we're looking, we've got a top view looking down on our model, and that's perfect. And now what we want to do is we want to create a shape that is bigger than the breadboard shape that we were looking at. Now, if you want your model in the middle, you can select a rectangle with a center anchor point like that, and you can just do this. And that's interesting because we've got 100 by 100. So now what we're going to do is we had 85 by 65. So let's go, let's do, say, 105 and then you use the tab key to get, so what you'll see is the dimension blocks are highlighted in blue. So we go 105 by say 135. And when we hit the enter key now, we'll see that this shape that we've created there has turned blue. And you can always click on the house to get this reorientated in your window. I've actually decided that I want, this is more of a landscape orientated. So if you click on the top there, well, let's go back to this view and let's just drag it. Let's do like so, and like so, and like so. And now what you'll see is we've got this item in a portrait orientation, but its natural orientation is actually more of a landscape. So I'm going to swap those dimensions around. So I'm going to make this one. So I clicked on that. So I'm going to go 135 by, oops, okay. So let's just re-enter that number there. Remember to hit the enter key to accept the value. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on that one and make that one 105 and hit enter. Now we've got a portrait orientated shape. So that's kind of handy. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on finish sketch. We're not really finished, but I thought I would just finish the sketch and show you the next step. So the next step is basically, I just want to have a check on participants. Okay, that's all good. Right. Now, once you've finished your sketch, you'll see over here. So I'm going to have to shrink my screen a bit. So I'm going to do that. So what you can see at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see there's now a sketch there. And this is effectively a recording function that records all the different steps that goes into your drawing. And that's quite useful. So the next thing we do is now we're out of the sketch function, we can actually extrude that. And at this point, we can decide how thick we want that thing to be. So let's make it 5 millimeters to start off with. So I'm going okay there. Now we've converted our sketch into a solid shape, and that's great. But we need to make a recess here to accommodate that breadboard that we want to stick in there. We want to accommodate that. So what you can do is you can do another sketch on top of this and extrude it the other way, or you can go back to your old sketch, because you don't want to have endless different sketches for each different thing. So we go back to, we do a right click on that sketch and we go edit sketch. And now what we do is we go back to this draw a rectangle shape. And again, we're selecting the rectangle that extrudes from the middle, and we click on the middle point and we pull outwards. Now at this point, what we can do is you can see that value 96.239, that's going to be the longer value. So if I remember correctly, it was 85. And then we go tab key and we go, this is the narrower dimension, that's 65. And we hit the enter key. And now we can accept that. But now it's vanished. You can't see the sketch. Because why? Because the eyeball is switched off. So this is your visibility switch over here, where you can switch visibility on or off. So there it's visible, there it isn't. You can do the same thing with a body. So you can switch off if we've got more than one body, you can switch off all bodies at that level, or you can switch off a particular body at that level. But we actually want both on. So now we can actually go back to our extrude function and we can do a right click there, and we can also modify and or edit this feature that we did. So what we did is we extruded that whole big shape earlier on to 5 mils. What we can actually do now is if I hold down the control key, probably a command key on an Apple Mac, but if I hold down the control key here, we can actually deselect stuff. So that's interesting. What I've done there is I've deselected that new middle part that I drew in there, And what you'll see now, they've got a thing that looks a little bit maybe like a picture frame. So that's quite interesting, because what I can do now is I can do various things here. One of the things I can do is I can simply go back to this extrude tool and create a new extrusion and click there. And now I can put any value in there. So I could put 33 in there and go OK. And what you'll see is that I've actually filled up that space that there was nothing there. And those are two different extrusions. So when I click on this extrusion here, it highlights the outer extrusion. When I click on that extrusion, it highlights the inner extrusion. So we've got separate extrusions that we can work on separately. So this is how Fusion works. It's really a piece of pie. It's very easy. What I'm going to do now is I actually want to do the opposite effect. So I want to go to this one and edit this one. And I actually want that to be, say, 2 millimeters, because I don't want this to take a long, long time to print on the 3D printer. So now I've effectively, if you look there, you'll be able to see that I have recessed the second extrusion, the one that's in the middle. And so the outer extrusion is 5 millimeters thick. The inner extrusion is 2 millimeters thick. That means there's a lip here of 3 millimeters. But now I want to do something else. And that is, so I'm just going to reorientate the model by clicking on the house. But I actually want to go back here, and I want to make this border around this thing smaller, because there's no real reason why I should have so much border on this thing. But now what you can see is I can actually see, and this is all in the same sketch. So there's no two different sketches. This is all in the same sketch. So now what I can do is I can shrink down the border area, and I can just make it slightly bigger than the inner area. So let's try, say, 95 over there and hit the Enter key. And now you'll see these numbers on top of each other. So let's drag the one down out of the way of the other one. And now we've got a wide border on the sides and a narrow border on the top. So this one doesn't need to be quite as big or wide. So let's dial that down to, say, 85 and hit the Enter key. And so now if I hit the Finish Sketch button, almost as if by magic, those underlying sketches that shows how basically that's the foundation of your solid, are those two-dimensional sketches. You extrude the three-dimensional solid from those, and you can see what I've got now is I've got this, effectively it's like a little tray that I could 3D print this part, and I can then put that on the 3D printer and print that out. And then I can put, what I can also do is I can make little holes in the bottom where I can put a ball of press stick to hold this thing from slipping and sliding around, or I can put little rubber feet onto the bottom of this thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a space to this item for putting an Arduino next to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to effectively get this thing through the Cura software and onto the 3D printer. So basically, I need to find an Arduino Uno. This is an Arduino Uno here, and I'm going to go to the internet, and I'm just going to see if I can't quickly find a drawing that gives us the dimensions, so I don't have to sit here and waste a lot of time trying to measure that up. So let's go to Google, and then let's do drawing of Arduino with, and it's the Arduino Uno with dimensions. And that might save us a lot of bother. And I want to just rotate this so it's properly orientated. So if you look there, you can see that drawing is up on your screen. And let's just stop that share for a moment. So what you'll see there is that's just, I could sit and measure this manually, and it'll just take too long, guys. So let's just do it. Whoops, it's quite weird the way this thing moves around. All right, so let's go back to that share screen there. Let's have another look at this thing. And I've got my notebook here, so I can just write down some ideas here. So The Arduino Uno is, if you look at that, from the edge, okay, so I'm just going to do a very quick little sketch here in my book. I'll show you that in a minute, but let me just do it first. So it's 53.34, and then it's 15.24 from here, 68.58 to there. So now, folks, we're back in Fusion, and I'm going to go back to this drawing here. And this is the beauty of opening up a drawing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw another block here, and I'm going to click and drag there. And I'm just going to do that. What you'll see is it's got this magnetic sort of function. And I'm just going to arbitrarily, so that is 80, so let's make it 90, and let's go on the tab key there, and let's make this one was 95, so let's match that size there, and we go enter. Now what you'll see is I've added a piece here, and if I finish this sketch, notice how the extrusion hasn't pulled up and pulled through, because the reason for that is we need to go back to the edit sketch, and we take the scissors tool here and we cut those lines away. So those lines are separating, and you'll see it's giving a warning message there. So what we do is when we do finish sketch now, what you'll notice is it's pulled the extrusion across there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into that edit sketch function, and I'm going to drag this dimension out the way there because it's getting in my way, and this one over there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a block for the Uno. And we wrote the size of the Uno down. It was 53.34 across by 68.58 high. So we're going to round those off to 54 by 69. So we're going to say 54 by 69. So, what I forgot to do here, let's just escape there. So let's go back to the block here. We select the middle function there, and then we're going to put that there. And so now we're doing a block that's anchored in the middle. That always works better. And we said we wanted 54 across to match the size of the Uno. And then we wanted to tab key to this dimension, which was 69 over there. And if we hit the enter key, now it's accepted that. And now if we do finish sketch over here, now we go in to this first one over here, and we go edit feature. And if we click on that, we've excluded it. So I'm not sure if that's the right thing we wanted to do, but let's just go in here and go edit feature and add that one. So now we go okay like that. So effectively what you can see here is we've created a recess for the breadboard, and we've created a recess for the Uno. Now what we can do is we can, in fact, let's just have a look at that. And so we can make this one a bit smaller, because you'll see there's lots of room here. So we could move this over, we could move this shape over, but we're going to run out of time. So I'm just going to draw a line down there arbitrarily and go to the scissors tool, cut that away, and you'll notice the active blue area just got a little bit smaller. And so we're going to go finish sketch over here, and you'll see that that's all good and fine. So now we really do need to save this. Click over there, and let's do this over here and go new project. No, base board over there. So we've made Arduino baseboard, and if we hit the enter key, it actually creates a new folder that we can keep that project in. So let's just call this Arduino, and let's go save. And remember, there were those little anchoring holes, so let's actually just create them. So let's let's make a construction line, and our construction line needs to be from here to there. And this is our dimensioning tool. So we click on there and we click on there, and we can dimension. That dimension needs to be 15.24, but remember we made a little bit of extra space, so let's call it 15.5. And the dimension in the difference between 50.8 and 53.34. So let's call that 2 millimeters. And then let's do that. And we're doing another drawing line. So we're going to go there. And then we're going to use this dimensioning tool. We click on that line. We click on this line. And we drag it down to there. And we click there. And we go 2 millimeters. So now what we can do is we can put a circle over there. And the circle M3 would do, so 3 millimeters is good, like say 2.5 millimeters. So let's go out of here and let's go back into here, and let's draw a construction line over here, and let's dimension that construction line here to there and call that say 2.5. We can also make these holes a little bit oversized, and it would work better. So now let's finish the sketch. And now you'll notice the holes haven't come through, but that's fine, because what we can do is we can go back in here, we can zoom in, and we can go control, click, and for some, I didn't do that as, okay, so let's go out there. Let's go back to the sketch. The reason why it wouldn't select those is because I made those circles as construction lines. So you click here and you'll see that line changes to a solid line. And we're going to do that. And we're going to go finish sketch. And now we're just going to drag that around a little bit. And we're going to go back into this one, go edit feature, and control click on that. And control click on that. And now when we go OK, what you'll see is I've actually created 2 holes there. So if I switch off the sketches, so you can just see the plastic part, then we've created our baseboard.